Namaskar. Welcome back to the second part of the poem Tintern Abbey. Dear friends, in the second and third stanza, the poet spoke about the importance of nature, what nature was for him. He says, the thought of the beauteous forms of nature, even when surrounded by the din and bustle of the city, provided him sweet sensations. What are sweet sensations? I told you, a feeling of delight, a feeling of pleasure, a feeling of happiness. Similarly, whenever he felt let down or worried or exhausted or troubled, and a sense of meaninglessness, helplessness, despair surrounded him, the thought of these forms of nature restored his wounded heart. He felt re-energized. He felt reinvigorated. It created a blessed mood in which the problems, difficulties of the mysterious world, the confusions, the confusing and senseless world, they were lessened. The problems lessened. And fourth point, it transported him to a state where man forgets everything about his physical presence, physical self, physical body, but is only concerned with the ways of the world, ways of the soul, ways of God, something divine. So, a spiritual, something spiritual. So, what nature did? Nature provided him spiritual solace also, spiritual happiness. Let us now go to the fourth and fifth stanza of this poem in this, second video. And now, with glimpse of half extinguished thought, with many recognitions dim and faint, and somewhat of a sad perplexity, the picture of the mind revives again. Now he has come here. I told you in the very beginning that he has come to this, he is revisiting this place after a gap of 5 years. So when you go to a place after 5 years, there are certain things which you forget, and there are certain things which you can recognize on seeing once again. When you see something from a distance, you say, "Arey, this is the place where I was sitting 5 years ago. This is the place where my sister was sitting, my brother was sitting, my father was sitting. Oh, yes, yes, this is the tree under which I was standing. But the tree was not so big 5 years ago." Half extinguished thoughts. So your thoughts are half extinguished. Not completely extinguished. Not that you have forgotten everything completely, but there are certain things which you forget. Your memories have faded, but not completely been annihilated. कुछ है अभी मन में, पूरा चला नहीं गया. Now with glimpse of those half extinguished thought, with many recognitions dim and faint, things have become dim. They are not clearly visible. They have become dim. They have become faint in your memory. You remember, yes, I think, I this stone was lying there, I think, not here, but this was the stone. Certain, if you go there after 5 years, 10 years, you remember certain things vividly. There are certain other things which you do not remember vividly, clearly. Uh, but your mind can revive those visions. And somewhat of a sad perplexity. Perplexity is a state of confusion, a difficult situation or thing. this picture of mind revives again. You know, now that uh, I have come to this place after 5 long years, there are certain things which I can, which my mind revives. No, mind can recreate. Yes, yes, this is the place where I had come last time. This is the tree under which I was standing. Okay, so everything comes back to life once again, although he has forgotten certain things. While here I stand, not only with the sense of present pleasure, but with pleasing thoughts that in this moment there is life and food for future years. So here I stand, surrounded by nature. I am watching the beauty of nature. I am feeling delighted. Now I am feeling delighted. Okay, very fine. But this is also food for the future. I mean, this I can use when I go back home. When I recollect these thoughts, when I sit back and relax in a relaxed mood, when I sit back, I think about these things, the beauty of nature, these beauteous forms of nature, they will delight me then also. So that is food for the future. So this is something, the beauteous forms of nature are not only making me feel delighted now, they will also make me feel delighted in the future. They will be food for the future. And so I dare to hope, though changed, no doubt, from what I was when I first came along these hills. Then he talks about what sort of a person he was when he came here 5 years ago to these hills. And he evaluates. He tells you whether he has undergone any changes in the meantime in the last 5 years, or he is the same person that he was 5 years ago. What he says, when like a roe I bounded over the mountains. Roe is a deer, is a type of deer. So like a roe, like a deer, I jumped here and there. Like a deer, I moved here and there. So what comparison he makes? He compares himself with a deer, an animal. So my pleasures were not spiritual pleasure, animalistic pleasure. Pleasure of the senses. मते गोटे जिनस देखिले भल लागुथला, मते गोटे जिनस सुनिले भल लागुथला. The murmur, the noise, the soft murmur of the fountain, the spring, the green surrounding, the spiraling smoke emanating from some vagrant's house, the greenery all around, the mountains in the distance, the cliffs. At the sight of these, I felt a lot of pleasure. मत देखिले खुशी लगुला. ताका भितर गोटे स्पिरिचुअलिज्म अच्छी बोली मु जानी पारु नथली. When like a roe I bounded over those mountains, by the sides of the deep rivers, the lonely streams, wherever nature led. I went wherever nature led me, wherever nature took me. Okay, as if I was following nature. I was going wherever nature was taking me. Like a deer, I was jumping. I was, running here and there. More like a man flying from something that he dreads. That one who sought the thing he loved. So what sort of a man I was? More like a man flying from something that he dreads. Dreads is afraid of, fearful about. As if I was running away from the din and bustle of the city, the noises of the city, the crowded atmosphere of the city, something which I didn't like. I was afraid of those things. I think I was running away. something from something that I feared. Okay. And I didn't care for. Not as if I didn't care for nature those days. I went wherever nature took me. For nature then the coarser pleasures of my boy's days and the glad animal movements all gone by to me was all in all. Nature was all in all to me. So that is why everybody, the critics say that he is a poet of nature. Nature was for me all in all. Everything. Nature was everything to me. Okay. So he says by then the coarser pleasures are the less sophisticated pleasures of the boy's days when I was a boy, and their glad animal movements all gone by. Okay. So earlier I was guided by my senses. My senses, I like to eat something, suppose a mango. A small child eats a mango. He, sucks at it and then he says, oh, how tasty it is. But you offer that same mango to a sadhu, to a saint. What would he say? Oh my God, how God has created this. How he has infused so much taste and so much essence, so much smell, so much flavor. Thank you, God. His reaction is different from the reaction that a boy shows. A boy is more concerned with, because a boy is premature. So because the boy is premature, his reaction is more animalistic, more, related to the sense. There is nothing spiritual in it. That is what he says. So when I was a boy, I just ran here and there. You know, I didn't have this sense of spirituality. I never thought nature could be this spiritual. So he was just running here and there, and he has lost those unsophisticated, coarser pleasures of his boyhood days now. I cannot paint what then I was. I can tell you. It's very difficult to tell what I was. The sounding cataract haunted me like a passion. Cataract is a waterfall. Now, when I was a younger man, now he is 28. So when he was a younger man, he says the sound of a waterfall, cataract is waterfall. It haunted me like a passion. I fell in love with it. Okay? The sound of the cataract haunted me like a passion. I fell in love with it. I appreciated it. I liked it. I was eager to leave the, din and bustle of the city and rush to nature so that I could hear. The tall rock, the mountain, the deep and gloomy wood, lonely surrounding. There was a kind of loneliness in the wood. Their colors, their forms, they were an appetite to me. Appetite is hunger. I was hungry to see these things. I had a deep craving to see these things, see and hear these things, these beauteous forms of nature. I had a great appetite to see them. The tall rock, the mountain, the deep and gloomy wood, the colors and their forms, they were an appetite, a feeling and a love that had no need of remoter charm by thought supplied, not any interest unborrowed from the eye. So this landscape filled As a younger person, these landscapes filled my mind with strong emotion and love. But now I have changed. This spiritual angle was missing. The spiritual touch was missing. It's quite natural. When you are not, you know, when you are a small child or when you are a boy, you are only concerned about your physical self. You are concerned about your senses. But as you grow up, you realize more things. That time is past, he says, and all its aching joys are now no more, and all its dizzy raptures. So those days have already gone. The past is over. The past is gone, he says. The past is gone. The days of boyhood have already gone. When I was only concerned about, okay, what was he concerned about? The animalistic pleasures, the sensual pleasures. I was not concerned about anything else. So those days, they have already gone. The landscape filled the young speaker with intense emotion and love. However, the deeper spiritual or intellectual aspect was missing. This is what I have been hinting at. So those days are gone, he says. Now things have changed. I have matured. There is a sense of maturing. Just as a fruit matures. A fruit appears more enticing, attractive when it matures. Similarly, the poet says, I have matured. The DG rapture is a feeling of intense pleasure. So something those days that provided pleasure, okay, something, the feeling of intense pleasure or joy. And DG is light-hearted, confusing, amazing. So those joys, those boyhood, joys have gone. Those boyhood, not for this faint eye, nor morn nor murmur. Other gifts have followed for such loss. I would believe abundant recompense. Recompense is to be compensated. Compensated, suppose you are losing something. Suppose you are losing something. Suppose you have a house and there is a coal mine, and now that the company is going to dig your area for coal, then the company says you leave this place and go away. We are going to pay you this much compensation. So that is compensation. For your house, you will be getting this much. Huh? For your uh, trees, you will be getting this much. Okay. So this is what he is saying. I have been abundantly. So now there is nothing unpleasant. There is a kind of maturing. Okay. So I am not missing my boyhood days anymore, my boyish days anymore. So he doesn't grieve losing those boyhood days. He says, I have gained so much in exchange. I have gained so much. I have benefited so much. I think I have been abundantly, plentifully compensated, fully compensated for the loss. For I have learned to look on nature not as in the hour of thoughtless youth. Then I was a thoughtless youth. But now my mind has changed. I am different. Okay. So then I was looking at nature as a thoughtless youth. Today, I interpret nature. My interpretation of nature has differed, has changed. But hearing the still sad music of humanity, nor hearts nor greeting, though of ample power to chasten and subdue. So grating is something unpleasant or annoying. Chasten is have a restraining or moderating effect. Something that decreases the moderates the effect of something else. Okay, chasten. Subdue. Subdue is to overcome or quieten, bring under control. Now, these days, if you are born in this world, there will be difficulties. You will have to face difficulties. You have to face problems. When you are young, you are a little bit rash in your judgment. I mean, you don't think but you act. There is a kind of rashness. Rashness is to do something without thinking. The different. But these days, now that I am married for the last 23, 4 years, I treat a problem. Not that all my problems are over. There are problems. But in the meantime, my approach has changed. The way I deal with a problem has changed. So the sad music of humanity, the problems, the difficulties, the problems of others, how difficult life is for others, that is there, that exists. Problems have not been fully solved. But this sad music of humanity no more appears harsh and grating. No more appear, you know, something unpleasant. But though of ample power to chasten and subdue, there is a way. I have learned a way. Since my approach has changed, these things don't have the kind of damaging impact on me that they were having earlier. Earlier I was impacted, but these days there is a moderation. These things have subdued. These things have lessened. Their impact has lessened. And I have felt a presence that disturbs me with a joy of elevated thoughts. What are elevated thoughts? What are elevated thoughts? Elevated thoughts are high moral or intellectual thoughts. So he no more visualizes nature as thoughtlessly as he used to do when he was a boy. He was grown aware of the sadness and the harmony that comes with being a human being. Lack of harmony. It's quite natural. The awareness is not unpleasant anymore, but calming and maturing. So when you mature, now when a problem comes, when you are a boy or when you are an adolescent, um, you find yourself in serious trouble. You find as if the world has come to an end for you. But when you mature, when you learn how to deal with these problems, that is what he says. No, these don't have the negative impacts, the devastating impacts on me anymore. So I have learned how to, I have matured in the meantime. Now, the boys or youthful naivety, you know, something delicate, softness, delicacy is already gone. I have matured as a person, as a human being. I have matured. And I now feel as if there is a presence in nature that disturbs me with a joy of elevated thoughts. So my thoughts are higher now, higher order thoughts. My thoughts are not common thoughts. Just as I told you, in a ripe mango, a sadhu finds the presence of God. You know how it matures, how God has given it life, how God has given it essence, how God has given it fragrance, how God has given it such a sweet taste. So for him there is presence of the touch of God everywhere. So it's an elevated thought. So you must take care of a mango tree. Okay, so it's an elevated thought. So my thoughts have become elevated. My thoughts have become graded. And there is a sense sublime, something greater, something something of a greater joy, unparalleled beauty, extreme joy, of something far more deeply interfused. So, a great sense of joy that is now inducted into him. Okay, so this is the change that has come upon him. Now he was a person who gave importance to animal pleasures in the past, but now, you know, spiritualism has crept into his thoughts. And who is this presence that disturbs him, fills him with a joy? He says, whose dwelling is the light of the setting sun, who lives in the light of the setting sun, and the round ocean, who lives in the ocean, in the living air, in the throbbing air that we find around us, in the blue sky, in the mind of man, who lives in all these, who lives in the light, who lives in the ocean, who lives in the air, who lives in the blue sky, who lives in the mind of man, a motion and a spirit. So this is called pantheism. Please remember pantheism, Pantheism. Wordsworth believes that God shines through all objects of nature. God can be found in all objects of nature, investing them with a celestial, heavenly light. Everything dazzles because everything attracts, simply because there is a touch of God in everything. It reflects his belief, pantheism reflects his belief that life force in all objects of nature. He believes that there is a life force in all objects of nature, including trees, rocks, waters. There is a touch of God in everything. For him, the natural world occupies so much mystery, excitement, zeal, only because there is a touch of God in everything. This is called pantheism. So there can be a question on this also. Pantheism. So there is a character, there is a presence who dwells in the light of the setting sun, who lives in the round ocean, who lives in the living air, who lives in the blue sky, and also in the mind of man, a motion and a spirit that impels, that propels, that makes everybody, all thinking things, all objects of all thoughts, that sets everything in motion. This is the spirit that sets everything in motion. Okay. This divine spirit that sets everything. So he says there is a touch of this divine spirit in everything, in every object of nature, in the human mind, okay, in the entire world, and rolls through all things. This, divine touch rolls through all things. This is what he believes. So this is called the presence of God in all things. This is what he says, pantheism. Therefore, am I still a lover of the meadows and the woods and the mountains, and of all that we behold from this green earth, and of all the mighty world of eye and ear, everything that I can see, everything that I can hear, I am in love with that. I am a lover of the meadows. I am the lover of the woods. I am the lover of the mountains. I am the lover of the springs. Everything that we see on the green earth. Why do I love everything? Simply because behind all these, there is something, a spirit, the touch of a spirit, the touch of divinity, both what they half create and what they perceive. Well pleased to recognize in nature and the language of the sense, the anchor of my purest thoughts, the knots, the guide, the guardian of my heart, the soul of my moral being. So you know what nature is for me? Nature is the language of my sense. It is the anchor of my thoughts. They create my thoughts, guide my thoughts. Nature guides my thoughts. Nature creates my thoughts. Nurses those thoughts just as a nurse takes care of the baby. Similarly, nature takes care of my thoughts. It guides my thoughts. It is the guardian of my heart, what I feel for others, what I think of others. Nature is the guardian of my heart. This is the role that nature plays in my life, and that is why he is called a poet of nature. So, in the fourth stanza, the poet makes a philosophical statement about maturing, about the development of his personality, what sort of a person he was in his boyish and adolescent days, and how he has matured with the passage of time. How the interpretation of nature has changed. Nature always enticed him, attracted him. But then the attraction was different, and now the attraction is completely different. Okay, so let us now go to the last stanza of this poem, the fifth stanza of this poem, and find out what he says. Not nor perchance if I were not thus taught, should I the more suffer my genial spirits to decay? Okay, what is genial? Genial is friendly. So in the fourth stanza, he compares nature to be a person of spiritual presence who nurtures, leads, and protects every part of him, including his heart, soul, and mortality. This is everything. Nature controls everything. There is a spiritual presence that's behind all, you know, elements of nature, and it protects me, nurtures me, takes care of me. So there is a presence, spiritual presence in nature. Genial is friendly and cheerful. So even if by some chance he had not learnt of this, he still would not allow himself to, you know, lose his positive outlook. So now he, in the fifth stanza, he addresses his sister about the value of nature, about the role of nature, what nature to him is, and what it can be, how nature is to be treated, how nature is to be approached. My dear sister, for thou art with me here upon the banks of the river, this fair river. Thou, my dearest friend, you are my dearest friend, my dear, dear friend. And in thy voice I catch the language of my former heart. Now you are young. One day I was in your stage. I was of your age. ତତେ ଆଜି ଯେତିକି ବର୍ଷ କିଛି ବର୍ଷ ତଳେ ମୁଁ ତୋ ଭଳିଆ ଥିଲି. I was of your age. My thoughts had not matured, so it's quite natural that your thoughts have not matured. Your responses to nature are not mature enough. It's quite natural. My dear, dear friend, in thy voice I catch the language of my former heart. So when I see you, I think of the former days which I had, the old days, my past. Okay, and read my former pleasures in the shooting lights of thy wild eyes. Okay, so the joys and pleasures that you experience now, I was also experiencing those pleasures and joys. Okay, the way you feel and understand today, this was how I was feeling and understanding those days. It's quite natural. Everybody who comes through this age, we have seen that particular way. Oh, yet a little while may I behold in thee what I was once, my dear, dear sister. And this prayer I make, knowing that nature never did betray the heart that loved her. Okay, so he says, nature never betrayed or cheated the heart that loved her. So nature is like a woman who never betrays who is faithful. Okay. So nature did not betray the heart that loved her. It was so faithful, so honest in its love. You love nature, nature will love you. It will not betray you. It will not cheat you. It is her privilege through all the years of this our life to lead from joy to joy. So if you love nature, you will move from joy to joy. For she can so inform the mind that is within us, so impress with quietness and beauty, so feed with lofty thoughts. So what does he say in the previous lines? The poet says, nature is like a woman who is dedicated, who is trustworthy, who will never betray you, who is faithful. And then he says, nature can impress your mind with its quietness, silence. Nature is silent, tolerating everything, putting up with everything. Kete torture ଆମେ ତାକୁ କରୁଛେ, silently ସବୁ ସହୁଛି. So nature ରୁ ଆମେ ଶିଖିବା. That is a lesson for us to learn. How to put up with torture inflicted on you. With its beauty, it attracts you. With quietness, it impresses you. Silence, it impresses you. And it can feed your mind with lofty thoughts, grand thoughts. Lofty thoughts are grand thoughts, beautiful thoughts, higher level of thinking. That neither evil tongues, rash judgments, nor the sneer of selfish men, nor greetings where no kindness is. So, nature will fill us with lofty thought. Lofty thoughts. Our thoughts will be sublime, purer, holy, grand. When your thoughts become grand and bigger, lofty, you will not be concerned about the small things around you. Somebody speaks evil about you, rash judgments. A judgment, a decision which you take in a hurry, and you are in greater trouble. The sneers of selfish men, they will always point their fingers at you. These will have no impact on you. When your mind is when the mind and thoughts are sublime, when you have lofty thoughts in your mind, एगुड़ाकर किसी impact तम ऊपर पड़िबनी. Nor greetings where no kindness is. Nor all the dreary intercourse of daily life, alliteration. Okay. The problems of dreary intercourse of life, problems and difficulties that we face in the normal day-to-day life, these will have no impact on you. She ever prevail against us, shall ever prevail against us. I mean, he will not be impacted by prevail against us, means these will have no impact on us. Problems, difficulties, somebody scolding you, somebody pointing a finger at you, somebody finding fault with you, somebody jeering at you, making fun of you, these will have no impact. Problems, difficulties of day-to-day existence, these will have no impact on you. That all which we behold is full of blessings. So, if you have communion with nature, you can live a blessed life. That is what he is saying. Therefore, let the moon shine on thee in thy solitary walk. He prays. Let the moon shower its blessings on you when you are taking a solitary walk, when you are walking lonely, when people have already deserted you, left you, when you are surrounded by difficulties and problems. Let the moon shine on you. And let the misty mountain winds be free to blow against you. Thee means you. So the mountain winds carrying the mist, carrying water particles, touch you, make you feel blessed, make you feel joyous, make you feel delighted. And in after years, when these wild ecstasies shall be matured into a sober pleasure, just as in me My animal pleasures have been replaced with a maturing pleasure. So my approach has changed. I don't, I don't interpret nature the way I was interpreting some years ago. My interpretation has changed. So that the same thing will happen to you. So with the passage of time, your wild ecstasies, wild feelings will also change, right? When you become this youthful happiness, it will go. This youthful happiness has been moderated into, it will be moderated into a more, a better outlook. Okay. When your mind shall be a mansion for all lovely forms. Your mind will be like a spacious house, mansion, grand and lofty, big house for everything that is beautiful, all lovely forms. Thy memory be as a dwelling place for all sweet sounds and harmonies. So your mind will also change. All negative things, negative feelings will be expelled from your mind when your mind will change, when you mature, when you throw away, discard, repel all negative energies from inside you. Then your mind can be a house for all beautiful things, sweet sounds and harmonies. Okay? Oh, then if solitude or fear or pain or grief should be thy portion, with what healing thoughts of tender joy wilt thou remember me? So then, when you discard all the negativities from you, even if there is pain, fear, or grief, such things will happen. Such things will come in your lives. But then you will remember, yes, yes, brother, you are telling the right thing. I have matured. Now I deal with all these things differently. With what healing thoughts of tender joy, soft, tender is soft, will thou remember me? And these my exhortations. Exhortations? Words of encouragement. So you will remember, there will be a day will come in your life when you will understand what I was trying to tell you. You will understand my advice. You will understand my encouraging words. Then you will understand. Then you will think of me tenderly, very softly. I may not be there, but you will understand. But you will certainly remember me. Nor perchance if I should be where I no more can hear. Now, if by chance I am in such a state that I can't hear you, means I am dead. I can't hear you what you are saying. You are thanking me, but I am not there to receive your thanks. Suppose I am dead by then. Or I am there where I can no more hear your voice. I can't hear your voice, I am dead. Nor catch from thy wild eyes the gleams of past existence, the happy gleaming, the ray of happiness in your eyes. Suppose I am no more there to see the happiness in your eyes or to hear the joyous sounds of your voice. Wilt thou then forget that on the banks of this delightful stream we stood together? You will never forget that there was a day when we two stood here together on the banks of this river Wai. And that I so long a worshipper of nature, either came unburied in that service. I am a worshipper of nature. And I came in the service of river Wai with a heart that was receptive, with a heart that was full of joy. Okay? Oh, with far deeper chill of holier love. So then you will be filled with sacred love for nature. So just as I am filled with devotional and sacred love, you will also be filled with devotional and sacred love. Nor will thou then forget that after many wanderings, many years of absence, these steep woods and lofty cliffs, and this green pastoral landscape were to me more dear, both for themselves and for thy sake. You know, these things the scenes and sights that I see around me, that overwhelm me, that fill me with a kind of pleasure. I was here standing amidst those. I appreciated them. I prayed them. I prayed that invisible presence to bless you. Okay, so this forest, these cliffs, the whole natural place was beloved not only to me on their own terms, but also what they will mean to you. So I thank them for what they mean to me and for what they will mean to you in future. So, children, there can be two or three questions. One, interpret, um, you know, Tintern Abbey as a poem celebrating nature. Or second question will be about the maturing of the poet, how the poet has matured, the process of maturing of the poet from from the boyish days, animalistic pleasures to spiritual pleasures that he experiences, he talks about. This can be the second question. Then third question can be his philosophy that we know as pantheism. Okay, so this is what I have for you. Thank you very much. I hope uh, this improves your understanding of what we have done. Thank you very much.